about penalty management. Just because you didn't throw the flag doesn't mean you have no responsibilities. You are just as responsible to make sure the crew gets it right as the referee is, as the calling official is, as the umpire is. Everybody's involved in penalty enforcement. So let's talk about this. And all this credit goes to Brad Allen. This presentation he's done many times. I've stolen a few snippets of it. If you're reporting a foul, get into the mindset of the referee. How is the referee going to make that announcement? More and more games going on television, right? We need to provide information to the referee just as he would make that announcement. So we have situations, so the very first thing we need to think about when we have a flag on the ground is when did that foul occur? Pass is thrown, there's an interception during the return, there's a block in the back. Well, if that block in the back occurred before the pass versus the block occurred during the return, those are different things. So the first thing you go to report to the referee is when did that foul occur? During the kick, during the return, prior to, after the play was over, right? Dead ball fouls versus fly ball fouls. Report when the foul occurred. What was the foul, right? Because that's part of the announcement that the referee's going to make. During the return, holding, right? Report it to the referee that way. What was the foul? I have holding. And when you report holding, you're not going to say, oh, he took him down. Or he grabbed around here and he did this, did that, he was giving him business. We're not getting into any of that. Just report it to the referee as he would report it over the microphone. Who is the foul on? During the return, illegal block to back, number 17 of the receiving team, of the return team, right? Who is it on? Offense or defense? Don't commit it, just report holding. Right? Make sure it's very clear, even though it's intuitive, even though 95% of the time it's offensive holding, still reported holding, offense, number 72. Provide that information. Don't assume the referee knows. Get into your knowledge. We got the intercepting team, we got the return team, we got the kicking team, we got the receiving team. Use those terms. Do not use colors. Right? We have an interception, have holding on blue. Who's blue? Right? We don't want to get into that. We should use the team, receiving team, intercepting team, kicking team, and of course provide the number. Even though the number may not be announced, what's the first thing that the coach on the sideline is going to ask the referee or a fellow crewmate? Tell him, what number was it? So go ahead and report it to the referee. During the return, holding, receiving, return team, number 26. Right? When, what, who, where did the foul occur? Because again, that spot may be important. My flag is good, right? If you throw a flag and you see you missed it by 5 yards and that spot's important, because it's not always important, but if that spot's important, go move that flag, go move that flag so he knows he's getting your attention, and then go report it to the referee, right? Because we're going to try to make this penalty administration pretty efficient. So if you go report it and the umpire sees your flag and he starts marking up a penalty and it's not correct, oh, let me go fix it. No, fix it before you go report it to the referee if your flag's off. Right? Where was that foul? Now, if we get in a situation where there's some sort of personal foul or there's an unsportsmanlike conduct, that's the area where you might need to give some more information. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 76 after the play was over. However you want to report it, if you can, during all, after the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 76. Right? What did he do? Because again, after knowing what number it was that the coach wants to know, what did he do? So go ahead and provide that information, because it may be one of those that you think it's a personal foul. Well, after the play was over, he held. Well, if it's a dead ball, can you have holding on a dead ball situation? No. But does it rise to the level of a foul? Because we're going to be working with people of all different tenure, first-year officials versus fourth-year officials, and those senior officials need to listen in and maybe ask some questions, make sure we're enforcing the same thing and doing the right thing. So when, what, who, where, and in some situations, how. So if you're enforcing this, we talk about this. If you're throwing a flag, you're throwing a beanbag, and it's wrong, make sure you fix it. If you're in a situation where there are 2 flags on the ground, that's when everybody needs to slow down, and those 2 officials need to come talk before they report anything to the referee. Because they may have the same foul, or they may have different fouls. And if they have the same foul on the same player, and there's two flags on the ground, and that spot's important, and one flag is up here, one flag is back here, they need to get together, move the flag to the proper spot, whichever flag is best, and then go report that information to the referee. So make sure you marry up your flags if you have multiple flags on the ground. And again, don't just assume that your partner over there is also calling defensive pass interference. He may have seen something else where we had holding prior to the pass, or maybe he's calling offensive pass interference. So don't just assume your fellow official has the same flag. You can talk to them before you go ahead and report it to the referee. So now again, this is a crew thing, right? This is where everybody gets involved. So we report it to the referee. We know during the return, we have holding on the return team, number 26, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. My flag's good. The umpire has listened in, right? We've got this information. Calling officials already know what it is, right? Even whoever's not involved should, let's listen in. Let's watch for signals. Let's watch for body language. If your coach is in your ear, what's going on? Get in there and find out what it is, because you got to provide him that information as well. So now we have that information. The umpire is going to go to the spot, and now he needs to confirm, right? We're going 10 yards from right here. So if you're enforcing it from the previous spot, again, we know umpires, we keep a down indicator to determine lateral placement, right? I hope all umpires do that. Don't just try to do it by memory. You may be smart enough to do it, but use lateral placement with the down indicator. And in the referee session this morning, we talked about maybe referees also starting to do that as a backup. Back judges, if you don't already do it, maybe you can also keep a lateral placement with the down indicator. So the more involvement we have, if we're going for the previous spot, we need to know which hash we're going on. Because if we're snapping from that right hash, we have a run play to the left hash, and we have a flag on the ground for offensive holding. If that offensive holding occurs beyond the line of scrimmage in the left side zone, even though we snapped it in the right side zone, we're going to go from that spot, from that left hash, and mark off the 10 yards. But if that foul occurred behind the line of scrimmage, then where do we go? Going back to the previous spot, so now we'll go back to that right hash mark. That's why we need that down indicator where we snapped it from. And sometimes the umpire forgets to move it, thought they moved it, but didn't. And if we can have other people, the referee, back judge, to help with that information, the more the merrier, right? We're in there, we're in this together. We're as a crew. If you force the spot for the foul, go to that lateral placement, right? Go to that left hash in this situation. And umpires, communicate with your wing officials, because this is a crew thing, right? So we're going to mark off 5 yards. Recommend giving the number 1 and point this direction we're going. 5 yards from this spot. 1 for 5 yards, 2 for 10 yards, 3 for 15 yards. So even if that wing official on that far sideline is going to mark it off and make sure we did it properly, he wasn't quite sure what it is. He knows we're going 3 from right here, we're going 15 yards. Right? So go ahead and get it high. Make sure everybody knows. If you have half the distance, again, communicate. Maybe from the 18-yard line, we have a hole, we're going back, now we're going to the 9. Right? We're not going to get the full 10 yards, right? We're not going to get number 2. Right? We tend to give the chop signal, right? Half the distance. Everybody has their own mechanic, but again, chop usually typically means we're going to go half the distance. So again, fellow crewmates know we're going half the distance from this spot right here. And of course, if it's a spot foul for whatever reason, again, I'm just going to go from this spot. This is where we're going to put the ball down. Hopefully that makes sense. Walking off yardage. So this is one of those things where, again, we can look good. Our goal, I think I have it later on, our goal is once the foul's recorded, the referees turn around, making the announcement, give the signals. Everybody else is doing their job to get the penalty marked off. By the time the referee finishes his announcement, the penalty's already marked off, the ball's on the ground. Let's get the teams ready and let's get this going. We don't want too much downtime between plays just because we're marking off penalties. Because with the clock's running or plays running, the players are playing and the coaches are coaching. If there's dead ball, there's a lot of chirping and there's a lot of trash talk. So let's get this penalty administration. Let's try to get it as efficient as possible. We don't want to be fast, but we want to be smooth with what we're doing. So walking off yardage, umpires, again, we don't want to be out there going off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't want to be doing that, right? We know we're going 15 yards. So we're going to mark it off by crossing 3 big lines if we're given the number 3, right? Marking off 10 yards, we're going to give the number 2, we're going to cross 2 big lines. And I'll give an example right here for those that don't already do this. And when we go to that spot, again, we don't want to be marking off guards, we want to hustle to the spot where we're going to put the ball next in play. So here's my example, if I can get this. So we're snapping the ball from the minus 42-yard line set. Right? We have a 15-yard penalty from the minus 42. What yard line are we going to end up on? Right? I'm a statistician. I like to think I'm a pretty smart guy when it comes to math. Well, once you cross that 50-yard line, things get funky. Right? So now you got to add and then subtract. Right? Go from 42, 50 turns to 57. 57 translates. Man, forget all that. Right? We know we're going 3 yards or 15 yards. We're going to get the number 3 from the 42-yard line. We're going 3. We know we're starting at the second tick. Right? From the 42 second tick, we're going 3. I cross 1, I cross 2, I cross 3, I go to the second tick, and that's where I end up. Right? And just get into that habit, it makes things a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. I don't have to do math. I just got to be able to count that goes to 3. If I cross 3 lines and 2 ticks, I can get to my spot. So it's just a way to do it for those that currently mark it off. Try something different. Try just giving 1, 2, 3, cross that many big line, and then go to that many small ticks before you start. Hopefully that makes sense to some degree. Any questions about that? Those that don't do it?
Other question.
Yep.
You're saying possible left spot.
Yep.
Possible left spot. You say you're walking it off with your big fish.
Okay. Okay. So his question is, hey, we're walking it off with our wing official. But by walking it off, it doesn't have to be like, all right, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. It doesn't need to be that. And I think that's a lot of what we do. I think it's gonna be, hey, we're 1, 3. I'm going. I'm gonna stand here and wait for you. Hopefully you're going 3. We're good to go. We've checked off. So yeah, we're walking off. We're really going to hustle that spot. Check it over within, or we have the same yard line, and then we go ahead and put the ball down. And wing officials, if you mark off and you're different than the umpire, I don't care if you're a first-year official, that umpire is a 20-year official. If you go to make sure you mark it off, don't just assume he's correct. Probably is, he's an umpire, right? Don't assume he's correct, right? If you're off by 1 yard, it's like, gosh, I'm just not quite sure. Come in and ask a question. Let's get it right before we put that ball down. Umpires don't put that ball down until you've checked off with that ring official. Great question. Was there another one? Yeah. Yeah, so we'll talk about it in our breakout session for the referees. If it's 3rd and 4.5 yards, or 3rd and 5.5 yards, or 3rd and right at 5 yards, it really helps the referee if the wing official, and again, you can talk about that during pregame, who's best to do it, whether it's the headline with the chain behind it, or the line just looking across. Do we have a short 5 or a long 5? Right? Because if it's 3rd and 4.5, again, the referee's not quite sure where exactly it is. But if it's 4.5 yards, we have offside on the defense comes in, line comes in. We know we're marking off 5 yards. It's going to save time for the referee to go up and says, well, where do we spot the ball from? Is this going to be a first down? Is this not? Right? Provide that short 5, long 5 information, wing officials, to the referees. And again, it just helps expedite penalty enforcement. Because again, on television games, hopefully that referee's going to turn around and briefly announce offside defense number 62, 5-yard penalty. Results of the penalty is a first down, as opposed to offside defense number 62, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down. If it's a long 5. So short 5, we have less than 5 yards to go for first down. Long 5, we have more than 5 yards to go for first down. Make sense? Great question. Anything else? We keep going. Again, umpires, before we put that ball on the ground, make sure to allow the placement is correct, which hash marker is supposed to mark it off on, or the middle of the field, and make sure your wing official that you mark off is also at the same yard line. The other wing official, again, this is accrued penalty administration. The other wing official, that's I guess the line judge, who's kind of following up, also needs to mark it off. And if you come in and you find out that it's been marked off improperly, come on in. Now the umpire's not going to wait for both officials. You know, he's responsible to mark it off with the head linesman, mark it off, we're good, put the ball down. The line judge comes in and says, whoa, 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 we're supposed to go 5 yards, not 10 yards, or you went 9 and you should have gone 10. Gotta come in and provide that information, so it's that wing official responsibility to come in, and again, save the crew. Even if you're wrong, come in and save the crew. Place the ball on the ground, and again, like we talked about, try to have them on the ground before the referee finishes his announcement. If it's a very simple announcement, it's not gonna happen. But that's our goal, is to be as efficient as possible, get the information, umpire, look at the wing official, going 1, 5 yards, put the ball down, referee's finishing the announcement, let's get the team going, let's wind it up and get ready. The referee, we see way too many times where the referee gets involved and gets the information, and then stands out there and starts pointing, right? I'm gonna go 10 yards from here, go 10 yards, so they're gonna mark it off, you're gonna end up over here, and all that takes place before he gives any information to the audience. We're in the entertainment business, right? Football is entertainment, officials, we're characters, we're actors in this entertainment business. People are watching us, people want this play, this game to go smooth, and they don't wanna see a referee out there just kind of pointing around and, telling everybody where it needs to go. They need to trust their crew, and the crew, you need to trust yourself and get involved and get that rule book, so you don't have to rely on the referee or anyone else on the crew to mark off penalties. So referees, as soon as you get that information, hopefully, if you want to, we're gonna 10 yards from the previous spot, as briefly as that, and turn around and start making that announcement, and then everybody else should be jumping into place and marking it off correctly. Back judges, don't think because you don't have a flag that you're not involved in this. You are just as responsible to make sure that the crew gets the penalty administration correct. So make it part of your, what you do during dead ball. If there's a foul, you are just as responsible to make sure it's correctly, whether you have to come up and help just confirm that the yards got marked off, whether you go talk to one of the coaches if he's out there looking for information, and the wing official is in there reporting the foul, get involved in penalty enforcement and penalty administration. Referees, one more thing, when it comes to making your announcements after a foul, they reported to you, you do not need to walk 20 steps. Right? Camera is up here somewhere, get your eyes about halfway up the stands, somewhere between the 35 and the other 35, preferably the 50-yard line, depending on where you are on the field. As soon as you get it, you really should be able to get to an open space within 1 or 2 steps. Right? I think too many times we turn around and we see a player 5 yards in front of us and thinks he's blocking our view, but he's not. He's far enough away that everybody in the stands and the cameras can see you. If by chance he's closer than you, you can take 1 step to the side, 1 step backwards. A lot of times stepping backwards just gives you enough openness to make your announcement. We don't need, because again, always remember that some camera somewhere is on the referee during this whole process. If he's standing over here and forcing with his fingers, and then he turns around, he starts walking 15 yards, he doesn't look confident enough. Try a 1 step move and make your announcement. And then, of course, we're going to update our down indicator for the next act before we go. If you have multiple fouls, you have post-possession fouls, confusing foul situations, everybody just needs to slow down. This is one of those where hopefully we're going to look smooth doing it. We may not be efficient, but that's where we have to now come together and talk. Right? There's 3 flags on the ground, 3 separate fouls, we have to talk about it. Right? And again, the very first thing we need to talk about, because usually in these confusing situations, there's been a change of possession, there's been a kick, there's been an interception or a fumble. And that's where we have these different confusing situations. And that's when the first thing that somebody needs to ask if somebody reports a foul, when did that foul occur? When did that foul occur? And make sure we have that information before we go ahead and start announcing and make it enforceable. Keep a calm composure. Right? Again, that camera's on you the whole time. You're huddling up. What happens when a group of officials get together? Somebody's about to get screwed, right? So we're gonna keep that calm composure. They'll probably get angry with one another or yell or say, no, it just doesn't look good. They already feel like they're getting screwed. Now it looks like you're debating which team is gonna get screwed, right? So you just gotta make sure to keep that calm composure while we're going out there and having a discussion. And make sure somebody who's not involved, who didn't throw a flag, is listening in. Somebody needs to listen in and just make sure all the questions are being asked, right? We always default to what's the referee's job. Sure, okay, because he's got to turn around and make that announcement. But everybody needs to take responsibility that all the questions are being asked, and that we come out with the right conclusion, because it's on us. It's not on me, it's not on you, it's on us. Again, be an active observer, listen to all discussions. And then again, wing counterparts, again, not just the umpire, but the wings are also working everything off and agree with the yardage. If you're in a game where you have a microphone, right, and a referee is making an announcement. Everybody needs to listen. I know sometimes it's muddy, you can't really hear what the announcement actually is. But if you can't listen to that announcement by the referee, because if he says something incorrect, he says a 10-yard penalty, but it's a 15-yard, and you mark off 15 yards, and you did it right. But if he said 10 yards, it's gonna cause confusion. Right? And a referee's favorite word with a microphone is correction. Right? Personal foul, number 72 defense, 10-yard penalty, automatic first down. Correction, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down, right? So it's our favorite word, so make sure you listen to that announcement, help the referee out. What questions do you have? I ran through a lot pretty quick, yes, sir. You talking about a feedback? What are you? So you're saying we have a punt situation, the back of it is what? Okay. Okay. Yeah, so now I have to wait, we have a fair catch. Yeah, just for catch, puts the ball down, just yeah. Yeah, we gotta make sure the ball's, somebody's watched that ball. Right? If there's a football on the ground, somebody needs to have eyes on it. So in that situation, we have a punt, fair catch, back judge comes in, rules it, gets the ball, puts the ball down. Before he leaves it, somebody else needs to be standing here over the ball. Because once you leave it, what's gonna happen? Somebody's gonna come by and accidentally kick it. And now we have no idea. Nobody's marked the lateral replacement. Nobody's quite sure what yard line. So yeah, back judges don't be too quick. Same thing when we have penalties. Don't be too quick to report it to a referee. Make sure we complete all of our duties. We have a ball on the ground and we have a flag in the proper spot. Okay. Yes, sir. Excuse me, what was that? Oh, in a poorly marked field? Yes. Do the best you can. I am not a game dropper. I promise I'm not a game dropper. But I had a game this past year, and it was Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and it snowed. It was called, I guess, the snow globe game. Right, so we're out on the field. First half, it's beautiful, beautifully marked field. But then the snow came down, and now there's no yard lines whatsoever. So they'll come out, they'll shovel off the big yard lines, but not the little yard line. Right, so now we're out there. Now we have a holding foul. And I know it's coming from right here, the flag's on the ground right here. Well, how do I go from the 32 to the 42? Because I can't see the ticks. It's the first time I've done it in 30 years where I've actually stepped off a penalty. I was like, I hope this is still a yard. All right, so I'm stepping off 10 yards. Yeah, you just gotta do the best you can. If you have a spot, you gotta go 10 yards before the mark field. Hopefully they've got 100 yards. Right? Hopefully it's not 110 yards. If not, you gotta fix that before the game. But if it's just poorly marked, you just gotta do the best you can. And the difficult part comes like if you're snapping the ball to 20-yard line, and you know you gotta go to the 30, and it's kind of wiggly like this, right? Which we've all been on those fields, right? You just gotta make a decision. Whatever decision you make, be definitive about it. And it's the home team's responsibility to have a properly marked field. So if somebody's gonna get, a less favorable advantage, I'll leave it at that, right? It's the home team's responsibility to mark the field properly. Good question. Anything else? All right, thank you very much.